Everybody, it's Tim and Tari here from, we're from Money Matters for Everybody. But today, I had actually done a video. We had done a video a couple of weeks ago, and I posted it, and I wasn't really happy with it. If I'm honest, I felt like it came in a little too hot. I do get a little heated on topics that are important from time to time, and I get a little frustrated because I feel that these are common sense. These issues are common sense, right? However, I thought through it and I thought I'll take it down and we'll talk about this briefly today.
Sure.
So, I had posted, or I had reviewed an article and made a comment on LinkedIn a couple weeks ago about there was a doctor on LinkedIn saying that she felt that her school wasn't taking mental health issues seriously, that they just were kind of writing it off. And I did respond back. I can't remember exactly what I said. That was weeks ago. But I had made a statement that, as parents, that's kind of our job, right? That's in our bucket. But if your children go to school 8 hours a day, you would want them to support you, of
Right.
course. And if they're not, then you have an obligation to move your kids. That's hard. Been there, done that.
Yeah.
Right? TJ has now been in public school where he was bullied. Public school where when he invited the bully to church, TJ took more heat than the bully did for physically laying hands on our son. So we moved him to a private Christian school. And then when COVID happened, I'm going to go back a second. We moved him to a private Christian school, and the next year, our youngest, who was doing just fine in public school, said, I want to go to that school too, which I personally walk through those halls and go, I would want to go here too. So since COVID, TJ has come home to school and has grown his business. And Ryan, after 2 years homeschooled during and after the pandemic, hallelujah, he went back to the private Christian school, which is really good for him.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about 10 ways, I think I have at least 10 here, and I could probably do a list of 100 if you gave me enough time, that we protect our kids' mental health. Because guess what? As parents, that's our number one job.
Yeah.
Number two, it's built in with number one. So as parents, we are accountable and responsible for our children's mental health. It is our job, right? And to support their mental health. You can't delegate this out. You can't leave it to the schools. You can't leave it to anybody else. It's you're up.
Yeah.
Your opinion on that?
No, I agree. It's mental health all starts
At
at
home.
home and with what the kids are taught from the parents and what they see.
Yeah, and it's hard because there's a lot of broken homes out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you are in a broken home, our condolences, but your job is 10 times harder. So we would encourage you to find a good support network that'll support you. So number one, we stand united as parents. Being married isn't always easy, right? How many times would it be easier to just be like, screw you, I'm leaving, I'm done with this. But as parents, we stand united. As believers in Christ, we raise our kids in the faith. We're in the Bible frequently. We're not just the type of people that just go to church on Sunday and leave it there and that's it. We live out our faith, and we talk to our kids about who God says that they are.
Right.
And we are in the Bible probably more than they are. Actually, this is mine, but you have one that's not as pretty and floral. Are you jealous? But this is the Life Application Study Bible, and this is the NLT because that's the version that we
use at
read.
church.
Yeah, and it's really helpful because the Bible is hard to read. And there's things in there that we don't really understand half the time. So there's a lot of context and guidance throughout here so you can read a chapter. We just got done Ecclesiastes, and there were some chapters where the chapter was shorter than the
Explanation and the teaching part of it.
So that was helpful. And we're getting ready to gear up to go into Revelation here. I feel like this week I kind of avoided it. So talk a little bit later in this about how we volunteer. We're actively involved in our church. But we'll get back to that one. So second on here, we make sure that our kids get adequate sleep. As a nurse, I think I heard stories about how in the city in particular, you'd be surprised. These kids don't have a parent at home. They don't have a good structure or routine. And I've had nurses tell me that these kids will watch the craziest stuff on TV at all hours of the night. They don't get adequate sleep. I love sleep. I'll be honest with you personally. I love it so much that I have made it my goal and mission in life to prove how good sleep is for you. Okay. Lots of things happen when you're sleeping. So yes, you can get too much sleep as an adult. So I have to limit myself to 8 hours. But for kids need at least 8 hours, sometimes 10, sometimes more. If they're getting sick, let them sleep. Obviously, if they're actively sick, wake them up and make sure you hydrate them after 8 8, 9, 10 hours. Don't just let them sleep for like days. That's where kids get in trouble and can have like a cardiac event because they lost their electrolyte balance. But when your kids' parents, I know some parents will say, "Oh, so and so is still sleeping." It's like such a sleepy head. Let them sleep. They need it. They need it. Let it. Next, we don't overschedule our kids.
Yeah, we've always had a one sport at a time policy in our house.
Has that been hard for you?
Yes.
Okay. So
But
people know that that's been hard for you.
But I mean, growing up, I only ever played one sport at a time too. I mean, there were sometimes where one season was ending and the next was starting, so maybe a slight overlap. But I hear, I was just the other night I was talking to a parent and I asked how their son was doing because I had coached him previously, and he said, "Oh, great, yeah, he was on 4 baseball teams this season, and 2 of the teams, our travel teams, are still ongoing through the summer, and he's on the swim team." So I don't know how you keep up with all of that.
You don't. Something has to give. You're not keeping up on all levels. So we have the one sport rule. Chances are our kids are not going to make it to the pros, and chances are your kids aren't either. So just stop it. We also incorporate, I didn't have this written down on here, and I think it's important to note that we protect rest. Sunday in this household is a day of rest. This has also been a topic of contention.
Yes.
There have been sports scheduled on Sunday. We don't do sports on Sundays. I think we did one.
Yeah, there was 1 or 2 one-offs where it was like an all-star game or a championship game, but we knew that it was the end of the season and we had nothing else.
Yep. So we protect Sundays as a day of rest, and yes, that can sometimes drive the high energy people crazy. But
I do not rest well. I'll be the first to admit it. I'm kind of on the go.
And your rest could be like moving, but it's not like working, right? It's not no work, no sports. Next, it kind of goes in with that. We let them be bored. Boredom makes for a great opportunity for creativity to flow through. I think boredom probably created TJ's lawns. But you want to be careful because boredom, if your children are bored and they're hanging out with the wrong crowd, it can also go very wrong for you. So, and that is my next one, is that we know our kids' friends and their friends' families.
Yeah, and I mean, you tease me sometimes because I'm the one in the family with the Facebook account. So I'm always, we meet the children's friends and their parents, and then I befriend the parents on Facebook. So, we can keep in touch and know what's going on with each other's families and all.
Yes, we have a term for that, and I'm not going to share it here. Our kids did not grow up with cell phones, and somebody had told me until it was necessary. So our kids didn't have cell phones until it was absolutely necessary.
Yeah, I mean, TJ didn't have one until he had his business and needed to start taking phone calls.
He didn't have social media until this year. You managed it.
I managed his social media just so that he has an online presence for his business.
Ryan still doesn't have a cell phone. He's 12.
Right. We have a spare cell phone that we keep around that he takes with him, to sports practices or events at church or whatnot, where the pickup time may not be a set time. Just so he has some way of saying, "Hey, I'm ready to be picked up."
Right. And I had a parent tell me, actually a close friend of ours, tell me that, your kids, if they don't have a cell phone or they don't have social media, they're not going to be able to keep up. They're going to be out of the loop. And I laughed.
Depends on what the loop is. It's probably good for them to be out of it.
I'm the youngest of 7. I was always the last to know, and I'll tell you why. It saved me from a lot of stuff, a lot of grief.
Yeah, I mean,
some of the things I need taking up my mental space, somebody else had figured it out. And Ryan does have an iPad, so we do limit his iPad time. We screen what they read, what they watch, and what they listen to. There are subliminal messages everywhere. Some of the music, oh my goodness gracious, like, I don't want my kids listening to Body Shop and walking around the house singing that. It's just terrible. Like, just listen. Words mean everything. Words matter. And so we're very careful. I do remember Ryan is actually, both of our kids play the guitar, and Ryan is he plays the guitar and the piano and he sings. And at one point I made a comment about Panic at the Disco, that I didn't feel that their music was like really honoring God, or that some of the words, like I would be careful. We've never heard Panic at the Disco being played ever since then. So your kids they do hear you and they do respect you. And then I've also learned on the flip side that I have to be very careful about what I say, because even now, like, Ryan has loved for the longest time, has loved Imagine Dragons, has played their music, has visited a lot of their concerts. And Dan is going through a personal divorce with his wife, and I probably made a comment that, like, you should probably go home and fix your marriage rather than being out here and performing for the world in front of a kid. We haven't heard much Imagine Dragons.
No, and what's funny though is, like, in its place, he's picked up a lot of U2, which I never pushed him to start playing U2, but he knows that U2
I mean,
is.
you might have played it a couple times.
I listen to U2 a lot because
Yeah.
they're like my favorite band, but I never said, hey, why don't you start playing some U2 for me? He started just listening to it on his own and picking it up.
And he's really good at it. So this includes school. I just wanted to make a note here. So we screen what they read, what they watch, and what they listen to, and that subliminal messages are everywhere. So we want to be careful, and this includes school. All right, next, we volunteer at our church and in the community.
Yeah, I mean, we do a good bit. I mean, I'm sure there's others that do a lot more than us, but I mean, we do, like when the church asks for volunteers, we're usually quick to respond with a yes. And in the community too, if we see there's a need to be filled, we try to jump in as often as we can. Or
able without overscheduling.
right.
And I feel that if I know personally, if I'm in a funk and I go volunteer, I feel better. So that's based on personal experience. Next, we let them take care of their personal space, so their bedroom, their bathroom, and their laundry. So we let them cook for themselves. This is part of our raising money smart, unentitled kids, but also that empowerment breeds positive self-image. And we do pay them from time to time when they clean their space and they cook if they ask for it.
Yeah.
And making money empowers them as well. Anything else on that?
Yeah, giving them independence. Just kind of teaching them how to be independent.
Like it creates independence. You're right, and we don't want them living with us when they're 30 in our basement. It doesn't have to be perfect, right? Like, so once a month or once every quarter, we'll go into their bathroom and give it a deep cleaning, right? They're taking care of their space. I'm not going to be picky.
Yeah, as long as they keep it
I don't care
presentable.
If you fold your clothes before you put them away. I know he does, but like I don't care as long as you're not walking around in wrinkled shirts all the time, right? So let them take care of their space and give them that empowerment, and don't. I understand it's easier just to do it yourself. I mean, it's just easier to do it yourself, but it's not the right thing to do. It doesn't help them in the long run. And then last but not least, this one's heavy. We talk about mental health. We talk about it. We have had our fair share of overdoses, suicides. We talk about it. We don't hide it from our kids. We talk openly. We answer their questions. We point them to God and what God has to say about them. We point them to, we live in a broken world, so our job to be the salt and light of the earth, right? And how can we do that if we don't address issues that are of the broken world?
Yeah, to hide that from our children would, in the long run, be a huge disservice.
But also kind of pointing to, we live in a broken world. There's this thin veil of good versus evil. The devil is alive and well, and he's coming for you. And when you're a believer, he's coming for you harder. And we have openly said to both of our children that we have declared it verbally that suicide is never an option. Suicide is a permanence, right, of a temporary situation that you're going through, and that the devil will come for you when you're at your lowest. When Jesus was in the desert for 40 days and 40 nights, like the devil was like, can't you get yourself out of this? Like, really just kind of prodding. And that, I believe, is what people who are contemplating suicide go through. The devil is really like, oh, I almost got this one on my side. That's not to say that I believe that people that commit suicide go to hell.
Right.
I'm not saying that, and I don't believe that. So that's that. When it comes to the heroin and fentanyl issues and overdoses, and don't take candy from somebody you don't know, and really be very selective about what you pick up. I think that's a wrap. Anything else you have to add?
Try to be proactive in helping to prevent mental health issues in your children. That's not to say that if mental health issues do start to creep up, try to address them early and seek counseling, seek prayer. Try to do whatever you can to help your children.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I think that is the key. You want to be proactive about it, and you should recognize that as parents, like, this is something that might not be easy. It is probably the hardest part of parenting, right? That we're raising our children in such a broken world. It's easy for the world to break them even more. And as parents, you really have to make sure that you're recognizing your responsibility to taking care of them. So we hope you found this helpful, and definitely this was a little less heated. It was a little calmer than my last one. So, all right, guys, take care.
Have a good one, everybody.
Bye-bye.